Hi, I'm Krista Strating, and this is the demo of the second portion of the work climb. Before I start my final climb, I already have my line set, friction savers installed for me already. I've tied my system. Before I leave the ground, I'm always going to get a buddy check.
Beaners clipped in opposed on the climbing system. Knot is tied correctly. Harness looks good. Lanyard is present, looking good. PPE, good to go.
Thanks, man.
Have a good climb.
Awesome. So before I ascend, going to sit and make sure that all of my gear is holding. My knots are holding properly. Everything's tied, dressed, set. Everything's clear, everyone's out of the way, and I'm ready to ascend. Before you ascend, you have options. You can go solo and just climb however you want. You can access the canopy using any technique that we've shown in previous videos, dynamic footlock or the hip thrust method. But in the final climb, you can ask for a buddy to give you a belay if you'd like. That's completely your choice, and it is up to you as the climber to make sure that the belayer is doing their job properly and that they're making sure that there's no slack in your system at any time. So definitely a communication thing, making sure that you're both aware of any slack in your system. So I'm going to ascend using the hip thrust method, and I'm going to ask my buddy Matt to give me a belay on my system as I ascend the tree. Okay, belay on.
Lay on.
Oh, yeah. You know what? This isn't as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. You might get a little sprinkle of snow, Matt.
Hey, John.
Okay. Just a little more. Excellent. Okay, belay off. Okay, so now I'm gonna go out to that station. As you get to one of your first handsaw stations, what we're really looking for in these tasks isn't just to touch the tape. I think anybody can just run out and grab the tape. What we're really looking for is good, controlled positioning where you're able to use both hands to touch the tape to show that control, that you're in a safe position, because sometimes these tasks might actually be you operating a chainsaw, or maybe the branch that's being cut needs to be held onto because there's, a house or a pool below you. So we really want to just make sure that you're aware of how to utilize that nice high tie-in point and use your lanyard properly. First thing you're going to do is put your lanyard on. So choosing a lanyard's placement is really, really crucial when deciding how you're going to work position, hence the work position lanyard. So I've got a nice high tie-in point. My lanyard is in front of me with my feet in front of me, and what you'll notice is I formulated a triangle. Okay? That's really important, and it's what you want to look for when work positioning. You're not going to get it every single time, but you should strive for it whenever you can. So I've got tie-in, lanyard, and my feet, which allows me to work very safely and steady with two hands, because I may be needing to take a chainsaw out and make a cut with two hands on my saw. I may have to cut this branch and hold on to it with the other hand. So the lanyard is what's going to keep me there, as if it's my hand holding me at my work position station here. So once I'm in this good, nice triangulated work position, I'm going to call for a stand clear.
All clear.
Thank you. And then I'm going to take both my hands, two hands on the tape, to gain your marks. Once you're done that, then you're going to come back in nice and controlled. Release your lanyard. Maybe even just leave your lanyard on until you get to a spot where you can be in your climbing system 100%. Especially on days like today where it's snowy and slippery. There, so now I'm in my climbing system 100%. Lanyard slack, I can take it off. Remembering to stow your lanyard as you move through the tree. And now I'm going to slowly lower myself down into this union here. Okay. And now I'm going to go for a little controlled swing here. That. And I come down. Okay. All right, so I need to perform a limb walk here to get out to that station at the tip of this branch. So we do call this technique limb walking, but you're not actually really ever walking on the limb. I'm kind of walking on it now as I'm standing here, only because I'm so close to the tree and the branch is very large. But as you go out on the limb gets smaller and smaller and your weight starts to push down and down. So if you walked on the limb the whole way, it would break and you would go flying. So we're going to show you here techniques and positions to get out to the ends of limbs without breaking them or falling. So I've set my tie-in already, either from the ground or climbing up to the top and getting that nice high tie-in, still in a nice suitable 4-inch or greater diameter limb around the main stem, but nice and high. It's really crucial when it comes to limb walking. If your tie-in is too low, those angles are going to open up and you're going to reach that 45 degrees way sooner. Maybe even halfway out on the branch you'll hit that 45 degree, and anything past 45 degrees, lanyard comes on. Because the pendulum you're creating, you're going to become a wrecking ball coming back into the stem if you were to slip off. So having that nice high tie-in, that tie-in's going to take you out in the canopy to all tips of every branch in that tree. So my tie-in is nice and high, optimal, and when you start to go out on the limb, you're going to put your weight in your system. Okay? We're not going to do any of this walking with your tie-in all floppy. That's not going to help you. You want your tie-in to take you where you're going. My tie-in's good. I don't have any branches between the tie-in and where I'm going out that are going to stop me or change my rope angle in any way. And if that does happen, I'll have to mitigate that as I go out. But we're good. We got a nice clear path to my target there. So I got weight in my line, and this is where I'm going to start going out, and I'm releasing my hitch. I'm starting to come lower, but I don't want to do too much. If I lower myself too much, I'm going to be too far, and then I'm going to lose that nice tie-in. I need that to stay taut, because instead of just loosening and standing up and walking up here and being dangerous and being able to accidentally slide off the limb, if I stay tight in my system, you see I can actually let go and I'm hanging in my rope. I don't have any weight on the branch, and I can let my system help pull me up from union to union, sweep off some of this snow, and actually have my tie-in take me out on this limb while keeping my weight up in my tie-in. So I'm not putting the weight on the branch as I go out. That's preventing me from maybe snapping that branch as I put weight on as I go out, as the branch becomes narrower in diameter. So I'm using every union, any little nub that I can find, almost like I'm rock climbing, except I'm utilizing the tree. So weight is still almost primarily in my tie-in point. If it wasn't, this branch drops down, and that's when the plumb bob drops. And that's where you could break the branch. The plumb bob drops, you lose marks on your test. So keeping this line taut and keeping your body and your weight in your system is crucial. So once you get to about this point on a limb, where you start losing that angle and you start opening up to almost a 45 degree, that's when you want to consider putting your lanyard on. If I had put my lanyard on down there, all that would do was just impede me from moving forward. So knowing when to put it on, if you're scared and you get to a point where you think you're going to slip off or swing off or you're getting tired, by all means put it on. But sometimes it can be utilized as a bit of a crutch, and it can actually slow you down as you try to get to the point where you're trying to go. So what I like to tell people is aim at on a spot on the limb that you want to make it to, and just commit and go to it. Not saying that you have to go fast, but you have to go in with intention. If you don't, the in-between space of where you start and where you're trying to get to, if you get to that spot and slow down and lose momentum, that's when you could lose your balance and fall off the limb. So my intent was to come up to this spot, get a foot hooked in, and get my lanyard on. So I've got my lanyard on here. So now at least if I were to slip, especially because this tree is covered in snow, at least if I slip, I'm not going to go any further than this union here. And then I can regroup, regather, get back into there, and lanyard's still on. But my system is still taut, okay? So I still have a little ways to go. So I'm going to start moving on a little bit further. Get rid of some of this snow so I can see what I'm working with. Now I'm going to leave my lanyard on, but I'm going to take it with me. Now, keeping in mind, every move I make, this branch is bouncing and dipping, and it wants to go down. It wants gravity to push down. So I need to keep my weight in my line, in my nice high tie-in. Okay. So again, tie-in point is carrying me. Lanyard's on. I can still take my hands off. But every time I put my foot into a union to hold me, I'm trying to put my weight not down on and into the union, but into the union towards the limb back to the stem. That puts the weight into the stem where it's strongest and not pushing down on it where it's weak. So my foot right now is angled the same direction as the branch is to the tree. That's really important. I don't want to be standing on it like this, because this limb is pushing down and I could break this off and I could go for a pretty nasty swing. So keeping that tie-in nice and tight, keeping my weight in my system. I'm going to go out a little bit further, taking my lanyard with me. Now this is not anything you need to do fast, because that's when mistakes can be made and you could go for a pretty nasty little swing. Okay, so similar to any work position, you want to triangulate yourself again between your lanyard and your tie-in point and your feet. Keeping most of your weight in your climbing system, and your lanyard is keeping you where you're trying to perform your work. So I'm going to come out just a little bit, but not enough to plumb the plumb bob. I'm going to call for a stand clear.
All clear.
Touch the tape. Now once I've touched the tape, the plumb bob sets again for the way back. So I gotta be nice and mindful, keep my weight off of the limb, my lanyard on. Just like in the limb walk demo, I'm gonna keep the lanyard on to help pull the branch up as I make my way back in. Keeping that slack out and keeping my tie-in nice and taut the whole way in, and that'll keep my weight off of the limb and keep my weight nice in that high tie-in point that I've chosen. And now I'm going to use my lanyard to help me come back in nice and controlled. Back into that last union there. Okay. Still have almost all my weight in my climbing system. So now I'm going to come back in nice and controlled, hanging onto the limb where I can, but lowering myself whenever I need to. And now I'm back safe and sound. And now all I need to do is come down out of the tree in a nice, safe, controlled manner. But also, we have added a landing station. So if you're climbing a tree that maybe there's some ornamental shrubs or something at the base of the tree that you need to avoid stepping on, you need to know how to be able to kick off the tree and lower yourself down safely and controlled, and be able to use your hitch and your climbing system to do that. So what we want to see is you jump out and land 2 feet in the marked target. Okay, stand clear. There we go. Your time stops when your feet touch the ground. And that's the final climb. All right. Nice job on your work climb. Hope you had a good time, and good luck out there.